Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee. In this show, we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. Guys, we got a good one for you today. We are back with a vengeance, and I am here with the other Summers brother himself, Mr. Patrick McGahee. Patrick, say hello.
Hello.
All right, guys. So, of course, if you clicked on this, if you're listening to this, you see the title, you know we're talking X-Men 97. That's right. The Disney Plus series season 1 has ended. 10 episodes in the books. And man, what a ride. As a big X-Men fan, I really wanted to talk about this because honestly, it's been a while since I've been excited for anything X-Men. I mean, especially in, the recent decade or so. You have the MCU, you have the Avengers, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy. X-Men have kind of taken a back burner a little bit in as far as Marvel wise, even though, we grew up with the X-Men were like the shit.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it was part of Saturday morning. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Saturday morning cartoons. X-Men were awesome in the 90s. And, I like to see that the X-Men are moving forward, especially with, we know they're going to be brought into the MCU soon. And I personally think they are really the future of the MCU in my eyes. Them along with the Fantastic Four, but really more X-Men, I think, because it has a lot more characters, to offer.
I mean, big reason being they have a lot more titles. I mean,
there's so many more movies. I mean, of course, that was the thing where, they could always do a separate universe. Fox was able to make so many X-Men movies because they had so many characters to play with. And a lot of times in the comic books, the X-Men events usually don't cross over with the bigger Marvel stuff because they don't need to, because they have enough characters.
Stuff's a lot of self-contained stuff, a lot like Spider-Man. I mean, for you listeners out there, just to let you know, my brother has always been kind of the X-Men fan.
Yes.
I've always been the Spider-Man. So
yes, exactly. When it comes to Marvel,
I've been collecting Spidey for 30 plus years. I've got the tattoo. I've cosplays. I'm that guy. So
I haven't gotten my X-Men tattoo yet. I don't know what I'm gonna get. Maybe I should just get the big M on my eye.
That would be cool.
That would work? No, that would not work. But no, because I have a Superman tattoo and I have a Star Wars tattoo. I haven't got an X-Men tattoo, which is kind of the third piece of my trifecta of geekdom, so to speak.
Yep.
So
I've still got that Spidey on my right. Yeah. I got it on my right arm. I've always wanted to get the Green Goblin on my left, kind of like good and evil.
Ooh, that would be good. Yeah.
Good and evil. So my head's in between them.
The Goblin on one and Spidey on the other. I like that. That would definitely be cool.
But that's been many years ago, so we'll see.
Right, exactly. But anyway, again, as an X-Men fan, I've been reading X-Men comic books. I mean, I remember going back, and I remember the first one I really remember buying was Gambit and the Externals from Age of Apocalypse.
Okay.
Because when I was a kid, Gambit was my guy. Yeah, I loved Gambit as a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up now, I'm more of a Cyclops guy, but Gambit was it. And I remember Age of Apocalypse, and from there I've been, reading X-Men ever since. And it's been a while since I've really been excited for X-Men. In the comics, they've been going through the Krakoa age, which has its moments, but I'm not a big fan of it. I know there are fans of it out there. Have you been reading any of that?
I mean, a little bit here and there. I mean, a lot of people kind of compare it to Grant Morrison's run, where they knew it was going to be a tenure that was eventually going to end. So.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot. There are fans out there that are upset about it, and I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for to get back to the X-Men as we know them. The sworn to protect a world that fears and hates them. Kind of that mantra and that kind of core of what the X-Men are. And then of course, on the other side, the media side or movie side, the Fox movies kind of went with a little whimper.
Yeah. Well, here, let me ask you a straight question about X-Men here.
Okay.
Do you think, because there's so many X-Men characters, does that make the X-Men more special or less special?
Oh yes, that whole age question, of course, because there's so many of them. Here's the thing about X-Men, I think, comparing them to, say, the rest of the Marvel Universe, is that I always thought, the Fantastic Four are the explorers, right?
Yeah.
And the Avengers are kind of the
family. Fantastic Four is
family, but their key adventures are exploring, kind of. There's
right.
Reed's a scientist, he explores, he has his family go with him, and then you have the Avengers, which are protectors, kind of like the people who defend Earth or avenge Earth is what it is. And really, when it comes to X-Men, their main thing is kind of just stopping the surviving. Yeah, exactly. They're trying to stop the rest of the world from hating them, trying to stop the bad mutants from making people hate mutants.
I know.
It's really what it came down to.
I think that's kind of the counterpoint to our real world, because it's like if people had powers, it would be a lot more like The Boys, where people idolize them more and everything. I mean, that has happened off and on throughout the X-Men, but not really concentrated, because it's always been about survival.
And people at times have said, hey, why do people like the Avengers and not the X-Men? Because the Avengers have powers and the X-Men have powers, and it has to do with the fact that most of the Avengers got their powers through like science or accident or whatever, where the mutants were born with it, and they're that next stage in human evolution where humans are saying, oh no, we're being phased out, we're going away, we're going to die off. So it's more like they don't like mutants because they know that they're taking their place.
All stems from the atomic age, the generalization.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Going back to the beginning of Marvel with the Hulk and the X-Men and all that. Stan Lee got his inspiration from atomic testing, the atomic age, stuff like that.
It's going to create superior beings.
Exactly. That's how it came. So, but anyway, X-Men 97. To bring it all, it's been a while. Again, like I said, the movies kind of fizzled out with Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. So it's been a while since I've been excited by the X-Men. X-Men 97, I think, has not only gotten me excited, but it's gotten other people excited that I normally wouldn't talk a lot of X-Men with. Like my two buddies, one of them, I go see all the Marvel and the DC movies with and stuff like that. He really loves it a lot. But then my other friend, Elliot, he has been talking X-Men with me now, and he's never talked anything like X-Men with me before, ever. And he's been watching it, and he's enjoying it, and I'm giving him like comic book references and stuff like that. Like he just downloaded the Onslaught saga.
That's the thing about your unaware friends, is like you don't want to throw them too many hardballs.
Exactly, you don't want to do it too. Like, I just posted on on my social media on Facebook, kind of the books that kind of had inspirations for this season as well too. Just to be like, hey, if you guys like this season, here kind of the some things that it took from storylines it took from, if you want to check them out and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, it got me excited for X-Men again. I will say this though, when they said they were doing X-Men 97, my first thought was, I wish they'd just make a new X-Men series. Instead of trying to capitalize on nostalgia, I'd rather them just make a new series.
Yeah. But at the same time, like we've been saying, they've been peppering them in the live action. So.
Yeah, exactly. They've been peppering the live action, and I get it too. But you got to admit, X-Men 97 was a way where they're starting the X-Men. I think it's all part of all part of the ploy to get people excited and interested in X-Men again, to get them ready for their MCU appearance. Yeah. And they took them to a place where the last time the X-Men were super popular, in the 90s, at their core.
It's kind of considered their second golden age, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
The first being, of course, the Chris Claremont 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You had the introduction of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, second Genesis, and then this coming out, X-Men #1 back in, I think, 1990 maybe, where they split the teams into gold and blue teams.
We don't want to talk about that comic too much because that broke the industry.
Yes, that one was quite the comic.
That's the thing that I told you, I think, before, was it kind of baffled me. It's got a cool cover, X-Men #1, Jim Lee. It's got I think it's 6 different covers, and there's people that make posters out of those covers and they frame them and stuff like that. I'm like, it's cool art, but at the same time, that's the comic that broke things, just because there were so many copies of it.
Yes, and then, oh god, the 90s was horrible about all the variant covers, and of course Fatal Attractions and all their holographic covers, and it was all.
Which I'm still kind of shocked they went like all the way to Fatal Attractions in this cartoon.
yes, of course too.
I mean, it felt a little shoehorned, I would say, just because there was so much action all of a sudden. But
you had to get it to.
It was cool to see.
Yeah, it came to that climax with Xavier and Magneto with that.
Of course, we were waiting for that Onslaught moment, so.
Yeah, which we'll talk about. We might still get it, of course, a little bit. Again, I thought they should have just made a fresh X-Men series, but now I would say I'm glad they did this.
They're waiting for the live action to reinvent them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, again, like I said, I think it's just a way to get people excited about X-Men again, and definitely it's a continuation of that animated series, which I went back and rewatched all 5 seasons of that before X-Men 97 came out. Season 5 is such crap. The first 2 episodes, you get the introduction of the Phalanx, and it's not too bad. And then after that, it's only like
I don't think I've seen the whole series. The first like 3, 4 maybe seasons.
Those that last season when they had the bad animation, I really didn't see those. But like the last 2 episodes are you go through Mr. Sinister's origin, and then the last one, of course, is the one where Gyrick allegedly kills Xavier, and Lilandra comes to pick him up.
Sorry, just say you said Mr. Sinister. I just remember that those flashbacks they keep going back, and you're talking about that was probably the horrible animation from season 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
With him as a human and everything.
Yeah,
that looks terrible. They've done that like 2 or 3 times, I think, in the 97 series.
Oh god, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, but so 97, I think, definitely got a lot of people excited. It's definitely hit the geek culture very well. I don't really know anyone who has seen the series that has too much bad to say about it. Personally, though, those first couple episodes, it was by season 3 they were doing the Inferno storyline, and I'm like, man, they rushed through, like, because Inferno's a big X-Men storyline, and they did it all in like 30 minutes.
That's
pretty
what I'm
much.
Saying. It's like they're going through all the good stuff. I'm just kind of like, what are they going to leave for the live action? You know?
Well, I mean, they're going to redo it in just a different way. It'll be a different interpretation. Right. Much how we've got 3 or 4 different interpretations of Phoenix, for doing TV and film,
Right.
For that. So it'll just be a little different interpretation for that.
Modernized.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully not too woke.
But this was obviously like, because I went, my buddy Ellie, he watched this, and he watched it with his kids too, and they were kind of interested. And then they went back and he tried to show him some of the animated series, like the first couple episodes, and you could tell the difference as far as maturity wise, between them, and which is pretty obvious. They weren't as interested in the old series as they were this one. Yeah. Too, and I think it has to do with, again, maturity wise, and also just the updated kind of modern storytelling tactics that they use.
I mean, if I wasn't such like a hardcore, comic nerd or whatever, I don't think I would be into it nearly as I am.
Right.
I'd probably just glance at it as another cartoon, because, I mean, we've had this debate before. I can't really watch the Star Wars cartoons. Yeah. I've tried several times, but it's just like, they make that such part of the continuity nowadays. It's just like...
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys, we're about to dig in now. So, if you have not seen the whole season of X-Men 97.
I didn't realize we were supposed to be spoiler free till then.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Whatever. I mean, if you're listening to this, and the title will be like something like season review or whatever, and if you're watching, and if you haven't, especially anyone who would care to listen to this, hopefully they care enough by now to have already seen the whole season.
Oh, I didn't listen to season 2 or episode 2 or 3, but I'm going to listen to the last one.
Exactly. I didn't watch episode 10 yet, but I'm going to watch this whole thing about the whole season. No, it's not how it goes. So anyway, but we are going through full spoilers. So of course, if you haven't seen the season and you don't want to be spoiled, pause, watch X-Men. It's much more entertaining than what we're doing here anyway, and then you can come back and listen to us, and of course leave comments, your feelings on this season. So let's dive into it. Kind of generalization. Patrick, how do you feel about X-Men, the animated X-Men 97 season 1? Maybe good, bad, highlights, lowlights, problems. Give me general thoughts. Go.
I mean, I didn't really have too high hopes myself, so it's just kind of, exceeded them a little bit. So I mean, it's Marvel. I'm everything Marvel, so I mean, regardless of what it's kind of like, unless it's like a Sony or something like that.
Yeah, and like you said, of X-Men, but you haven't been keeping up with what's going on in the comics or
not the last decade or so. But like I said, I've always been Spider-Man, so Spider-Man's always messed around with X-Men all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like me. Like I'll go through and I'll like.
I mean, we're not even talking about the Spider-Man moment in this episode.
Yeah, we'll get Spider-Man moments in the season, yes, and we will get to those in just a little bit. But yeah, like with kind of like me, like with Spider-Man, I don't read Spider-Man. Thankfully, one thing that Marvel does actually is they put that little like previously on Spider-Man, at the front there, and I'll go through and like I'll flip through a couple of comics, and a lot of times I'll read the little synopsis, like, okay, what's going on in this book? Okay, that's cool. Next one, and I'll flip through.
That's what I do with X-Men. Hey,
Exactly, and that's the cool thing, That's what's cool about it, that you can go through and just kind of see. Because sometimes if I say open a Spider-Man comic and I look through that little blurb and I'll be like, this sounds cool. Let me read this book, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to subscribe to the new one, though. The X-Men #1 is coming out.
Yeah, From the Ashes, they say.
It's what is it, 300 or whatever? What's the anniversary issue is going to end everything? There's like a number, numbering for it.
I don't know.
But yeah, I was going to get that.
Okay.
Just see where it goes, especially Beast.
Yeah.
Beast is kind of like, what the hell?
Beast is kind of going off the rails in the comics. But, okay, let's focus up again. X-Men 97, share your thoughts. Come on.
I want that Beast.
Anyway, yes.
I don't know.
You thought, okay, on a scale of say 1 to 10, what'd you think of it? Something like that.
I mean, it'd probably be a hard 8 or 9 at least. I would say. I mean, there are really too many flaws other than they try to again compound a lot of our childhood storylines together.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely it
makes me wonder how long they're trying to drag this on a little bit. If it's like maybe they're going to be another season or two, and that's why they're going so quickly through things.
Yeah, well, I'm told they're working on second season right now. They want to do
I've seen the third season's already gotten.
Yeah, I mean they from what I hear they want to do like 4 or 5 seasons or so at least.
So that really makes me think: is it going to go beyond the live action X-Men when that comes out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still at least 3 years away from.
Well, I mean, we're talking 5 seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. And yeah, exactly. I mean, what are they going to do? I think by then they'll probably cut it off because kind of like how they ended like Superman and Lois because there's a new Superman coming out, and that Superman is going to be in film and TV. They don't want a competing version of it.
We're going to find some definitive info about X-Men, maybe even the cartoon once Wolverine Deadpool comes out.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see them, teasing.
Because the Wolverine's in that looks, just like the cartoon almost, and
yeah, he's got the yellow outfit with that. So, yeah, I mean, X-Men 97. I'll just share my thoughts. So overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Of course, there are two. I went back and rewatched the first 9 episodes before I watched the 10th episode. But the thing is, though, I skipped episodes 4 and 6 because honestly, like. Episode 4 is the Jubilee episode, and then the first part of Life Death with Storm and Forge, and then you had episode 6 with.
So the ones that were character focused, you skipped.
They're not character focused, honestly. It's not. So
it wasn't spread out.
Well, it's not like a bigger season. Like you could literally almost skip those episodes and miss nothing.
I'm not dogging you for it. I mean, those I wouldn't really watch.
But that's what it is with me too. When it comes to like seasons like this or whatever, I'm interested in the bigger picture. Yeah. And those 2 episodes were just kind of almost self-contained. They didn't really focus on what was going on in the bigger picture of the season.
Yeah, because it was more about the characters.
Yeah, it was more about here's a fun Jubilee adventure. Yeah, and here's which
I really wouldn't mind if they would have had like different characters at the focus of that, because that's kind of what I was talking about. I would have liked more episodes like that because you could have spread that storyline out more.
You know what I would have liked, instead of like focusing on like Jubilee who's in the season, or even Xavier who's in the season, show me just another mutant. Show me Dazzler, or show me Longshot, or something like that. Someone who's not part of the regular team and what they're doing, like an obscure kind of thing,
Right. There's so many directions you could go with it at that point.
No, I'd much rather see that than like I said, a Jubilee adventure with Mojo and. I get it. It's a fine enough. It's fine.
They're trying to get that youth appeal.
It's fine. It's fine. It was entertaining. Like I say, it just didn't connect too much to the bigger storyline, except for maybe getting Jubilee and Sunspot a little closer in their relationship. Yeah. But yeah, overall season, I absolutely loved the storytelling. I mean, I'm trying to think. My only flaw, like I said, with that is just the fact that I think they move so fast. Like they did Inferno in 1 episode. You've done all of Operation Zero Tolerance.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like there's no time for mourning or anything. It's just like, oh, he's dead. All right, next episode.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think I can see why though they did that Life Death Part 2 in between Remember It and Bright Eyes, because you need that extra week to kind of like soak in the Gambit death.
Emotional bumper
Exactly. Yeah, let it soak it in. And that's why I love, I hate binging. My wife likes to binge watch shows and like
I thought you said Benji.
Benji the dog. Yes, of course. That lovable canine. Who doesn't love Benji?
What a little scamp.
I know, right? Kids today are like, who the hell's Benji? Right? But binging, I don't like to binge stuff. I like the weekly format. I like to watch it. I like to speculate, talk about it, let it soak in.
Shows, and that's kind of
marinate.
Why I like comics too.
Marinate it, exactly. Long form storytelling. I mean, that's why I prefer TV over movies too, because I like the investment that you get in it. But today people love the Netflix stuff. Just like give me the whole season at once.
Yeah. I want it fed to them.
And I hate that. To me, I don't like that either, because then it's like say you had like the season 2 of Daredevil drop, right? I feel like I have to watch that entire season as fast as I possibly can. Otherwise, it's going to get spoiled for me online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like I got to watch this in like a day. Otherwise, I'm going to get it spoiled for me.
That's the only season I got on Blu-ray. Season 2 of Daredevil from
one of my favorite seasons of superhero TV ever. Right up there with this one. But yeah, so I like the weekly format because you only have you're only supposed to watch 30 minutes of TV a week. That's easily done for somebody, so you don't get spoiled. Yeah. Exactly.
You seen there how many times did Daredevil appear in that last episode?
He did. He was quite a bit.
He's coming out next year, folks.
Exactly. Hey. Yes, they announced. Yes, they talked about he's coming out in March. March is when that Daredevil series is coming out.
That's what I'm saying. That shows that Spider-Man now. Stays gawking in the window.
I know, right? Yep. Okay. So, all right. So let's dive a little deeper here now. So usually when I like to do these seasons, I like to go character by character, and I do that because then I feel like I don't miss anybody really. I can just spend a little time on each person. I want to kind of save, of course, the Summers family for later because they're kind of the crux, I feel like, of this whole season. So let's start kind of at the bottom. Maybe one of the more controversial ones, Morph.
Yeah.
Our boy Morph.
Is this really the same Morph?
I mean, of course there's a whole controversy about how he's gender fluid now, which he's a shapeshifter. He can turn into a man or a woman. Of course he's going to be fluid about that. And then, of course, people speculated most of the season, what are his real feelings for Wolverine?
I think that character really offended those people that didn't read the comics but remember the cartoon, and so it's like, hey, this character doesn't look the same, and he's also this too.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's weird that like people like have a problem with that, and I'm like, do you really know what X-Men is? Like,
I mean, I guess any character would be unisex.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, it just, when people have problem with, like, just when it comes to, because X-Men, it's about intolerance and hatred and these people, and, feeling accepted, and, they have these people come out and be like, well, this is not right. This person should not be in here. And I'm like, this comic book, this whole X-Men was made for people like this character. Yeah. People that relate to this character. That's what the whole thing's about,
Yeah. The thing about Morph, though, is like he makes the chameleon kind of useless,
Yeah, exactly.
Like Spider-Man characters to X-Men characters.
I saw something online today too. We're talking about how like Mystique and Morph have never been in the same scene. Maybe they're the same person.
Oh, okay. That's different.
That kind of crazy theory, right?
Nightcrawler, I'm your mama.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be completely crazy, and the internet would definitely lose it on that one. Well, like I said, I mean, Morph's big thing this whole season was kind of having that relationship with Wolverine. He was the comic relief. And my favorite line was in episode 8 when Cable was explaining the future to everyone, and then Morph's like, oh great, another future where Logan's the last one alive.
Right. You think Morph's been through a few of them by now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he knows another.
I mean, that's kind of a reference to his comic character if you get down to it, because he's from Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
so, that was another one where Wolverine was one of the last alive.
And that's the thing about Morph too, is the fact that he was a character that was fresh in the animated series, and then he jumped over from the animated series.
He's the Harley Quinn of Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. To the comic books, they changed his face to give him that kind of white face in the Age of Apocalypse, and then him and Blink made the jump from Age of Apocalypse
to. That's a character I'm surprised didn't show up at all.
I'll bring them in.
They didn't really tease Apocalypse till that last episode.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and that's the thing too with season 2. I'm curious what they're going to do with I was going through in my head the famous Apocalypse storylines, because there are several Apocalypse storylines that they could like kind of mesh those together maybe a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what made lose interest. It seemed like Apocalypse for a while was just kind of a one-note character over and over.
Yeah, I can get it.
Like, oh, I need horsemen. Oh, I need horsemen. Oh,
yeah,
I need horsemen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's had a lot, and several X-Men have been horsemen, which of course
that's like half the X-Men.
Yes, I went through our list. I think I saw the other day, and it was like probably about a good 6 or 7 X-Men characters have been Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty badass though when the Hulk was one of those horsemen.
I know, I saw that too, exactly. So, all right, so Morph we got covered. Let's go Jubilee.
Yeah.
The Jubilee, the younger one, she got her 18th birthday on the show in that Mojo episode.
Yeah, you're no longer a kid.
Exactly. She's a full-fledged. And, she said she had that one badass moment against Bastion.
Where's her Britney Spears moment? That's where it should have been happening. Some Britney Spears or something.
Or 97. Britney didn't come till, 99?
Was it around that?
Was it around then?
We're the same age. We're like a month apart. Believe that or not.
Okay, you gonna... Anyway, I think...
TRL back in 96, maybe 97.
Well, okay, and here's another thing, too. If we're getting another season of X-Men 97, or is it going to be called X-Men 98? Because we're going to the next year?
Or is this going to be X-Men 97 Part 2?
Part 2 or season 2.
They're like, we're going to divide this into 3 parts.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd probably just be called X-Men 97 again, but it'd be interesting if they called it X-Men 98, and then season 3 was 99. And,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know, but Jubilee, I have no really affinity for the character. She's just kind of there.
It's just how do you make her look badass? She keeps throwing fireworks,
Hey, if I had fireworks for hands, I'd be badass.
So against a giant metal robot, I mean...
Dude, you can, heat up, like a sparkler in your hand,
Sparkler.
Your hands were sparklers and just, pound... Dude, sparkler hands punching people, that could be badass.
Anything, and it'd be a good distraction so Wolverine could cut that thing's head off or something.
And they'll be like, blind you, now cut.
Yeah, psych.
Yeah, exactly. She shoots the fireworks to blind the people, and then that's when Wolverine comes in and cuts them.
I don't know, maybe her superpower is bravery, because that's her powers,
Yeah, well, in the comics she becomes a vampire too, so kind of levels her up a little bit, which now that we have Blood Hunt going on...
I got that Spider-Man Blood Hunt earlier. I stopped at one of those comic shops there north of Austin.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe she'll have more to do in Blood Hunt than she's had to do in the last... ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I think they turned her into a vampire, and then they also gave her a baby too to give her something, because in the comics she hasn't been too relevant. But she again, she's there. She's a fine character. If you like Jubilee, no hate against you. Everyone has their favorite X-Men, and they all have their depth. So that's cool.
She's a second Kitty Pryde. That's all.
Yeah, it's kind of what it was. Yeah, she's another kid who latched onto Wolverine.
And now we got Sunspot, the third Kitty Pryde.
Yes. Okay. So let's jump to Sunspot. This was kind of the the point of view character for this season, where he was the one that
always try to do that fresh perspective.
Yeah, that fresh perspective, exactly, and that happens too. Kind of learning, and of course at the end there he kind of agreed with Magneto, and how he had the whole issue with his parents and his mom kind of basically turned him into the police. I mean, I'm sorry, if my kid comes through the window, okay, and somebody's chasing him, and the chaser's like, oh, we're trying to protect him, and I'll be like, that's my baby. You get the F out of here right now, okay? You ain't going nowhere with him. I mean, for a sec, she's like, go with them. And I'm like, go with them? They don't even have police badges or anything, okay? They're freaking robots that were chasing your kid, and you're going to say, yeah, take him.
That's like Sarah Connor in the Terminator,
No, exactly. What if Sarah Connor was like, John, you go with these robots that are chasing you, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a good gun.
Exactly. I'm just saying, so weird robots are chasing my kid. I'm not going to be like, yeah, go with him. I don't care who's around. I don't care if my friends of high society are around.
So you're saying that's a flaw in their character? Huh?
I'm just saying. Yes, I'm saying the lady's a bitch. I'm saying the lady is a bitch. Okay. Sunspot's mom.
Those are the people you usually want to leave behind, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. I can see why he doesn't hang out with his family that much.
Of those people in my life and some of my friends. So.
Yeah, but Sunspot had that journey of kind of almost self-acceptance, because at the beginning of the season, he said he didn't use his powers that much. He tried to hide it, and by the end there, he's full energized up and flying and fighting and all this other stuff. So for him, it was a journey of acceptance in this season.
Again, that kind of felt like it was kind of shoehorned, I think, right into that episode, because I didn't feel like, oh, it's going to be a Sunspot moment. No, it's just like, oh, it's here, and then next thing.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they sprinkled his journey in throughout it, and like I said, he was definitely
because let me tell you this: if this was just, I think, a regular X-Men '90s episode, the Sunspot thing would probably encase the whole episode.
Yeah,
they probably would not, have this that going on.
If this was a '90s again, the regular animated series,
circling around to the same thing.
Well, they did the same thing. So one of the final episodes in season 5 of the animated series was a Cannonball episode. Where they Sam came in, he did
was that another poor animation one?
It was a crappy animation, yes, and it was just horribly done. Story was crap, but yeah, it was one of the things where they found Sam, he got in trouble, they saved him, we moved on. It's kind of like if what Sunspot's if Sunspot was in that animated series, that's what happened. They would have the one episode with him, compact like that, and then move on.
Yeah.
So, but I like that it went through the whole season again, because we had that journey of self-acceptance and who he is and who he should be, and being proud, mutant and proud, as they say. Exactly. With that.
See, that gets close to the whole gay and proud thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's the metaphor. Yes, that's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. So, moving on, Beast. Not much to do this season except really just him and Trish Tilby, the reporter. Yeah, that's really the only storyline I think they really gave him this season.
This was a character you really didn't, when we grew up, that was a character we didn't really know till a year or two after the show started, because he was in prison.
He was in prison. That whole first season he was in prison. I mean, they gave him that one episode again in the regional animated series where he was helping this blind woman in a hospital, and she fell in love with him, but then she actually was able to see him.
That's a whole Beauty and the Beast thing.
Yeah, exactly. And she was.
I think that was in the comics, right?
There's something like that. I think it was in the comics. But yeah, she was fine with it, but her dad wasn't, of course. So that whole thing. But in the comics, Beast and Trish Tilby do have a pretty long-lasting relationship. They eventually break up, but it's definitely one of Beast's most prominent relationships in the comics. So they did tease that, but it goes the same too. Where we saw, I think it was episode 9, where Wolverine was slicing up the Sentinels, right? Literally killing people. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was curious, what are they gonna do with Trish? And they showed in episode 9, I think, where Trish is lying down. Basically, I don't know if she's sedated or what's going on, but Beast is taking care of her, and he's trying to find a cure, basically, for all these Sentinel infected people. They never found really a cure, did they?
The Sentinel people?
Yeah.
I thought they all got shut down.
They all got shut down, that's true. But then what happened? Does that shut down the mechanical part of them, and they're human again?
Might have a bunch of cyborgs on our hands here.
I'm just saying, when they turned, because Magneto turned them all off. Did he kill all the people, or did he just turn off the mechanical part of them?
I was going to say, isn't it kind of like a technovirus is what it was?
Yeah, it was a technovirus. Cable even said it's like the technovirus that he has.
I don't really know how that works, because that's like a computer virus of some type.
Yeah. It's almost like Magneto killed the virus. Yeah, in that sense. That's what I would think.
So would that cure Cable too?
It should.
I know he didn't have an arm.
If it's pretty much the same thing, you think it would. He did get juiced up in that episode 9 too. Yeah. More than I've ever seen him get juiced up in the comics.
Oh yeah,
definitely with that. So, but Beast, not too much.
They treat him better in the cartoon than the comics. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And
he was in prison in the cartoon.
I can't remember the most significant Beast thing I can remember from the comics is the recent one where he cloned himself and cloned Wolverine, and basically he's a villain now almost.
Yeah.
And then of course, back in Onslaught, you had Dark Beast.
Yeah, Dark Beast.
Yeah, where he got switched with Age of Apocalypse
and
Beast.
And he always had those fun team-ups with Wonder Man, too.
Yeah, that's true.
I know they got a Wonder Man series coming out. I'd kind of see maybe that kind of...
That would be cool. I could see that, yeah. I like that idea.
I mean, he's been a fun, lovable character until like recently, where they turned him into a bastard again.
Mad scientist, pretty much, is what happened to him.
What I think the new Beast is a clone or something like that.
Yeah. So the new Beast. So he's like he made clones of himself, and then he made clones of Wolverine to control them.
But here's the thing: that the whole Krakoa, however you say it, age.
Krakoa.
Weren't they all clones anyway?
They pretty much were, because they couldn't die. Like anytime they died, they were brought back to life.
Yeah, their way of resurrection was going to another body.
Yeah, exactly. But in what they're doing in the comics right now, say sticking on Beast, is they resurrected a Beast of a earlier mindset.
Yeah,
pretty much what it was.
Yeah,
so like the end of it was like Beast from like a couple of years ago being like, oh my god, what happened to me, and you're like,
I really didn't mind when they had the original 5 X-Men running around from the past.
God, I love that. Bendis's run was
like I think recently they did like some kind of one shot or something where they were briefly in the present again or something.
I don't remember that one.
I can't remember what it is, but yeah, I mean, bring on that beast. I mean, a hairless beast,
God, that was one of those things too in the comics when they did it. Where like, hey, we're going to bring the original 5 X-Men to the present, and I'll be like, well, this does sound kind of stupid, and I'm like, this was awesome.
Yeah, it really.
This was awesome.
Because, I mean, for one, it raised all kinds of questions. Especially time continuity.
The ramification. Well, it's one of those things, It's like.
But at the same time, it's like there's how many different universes.
Well, I mean, especially with those 5 characters, so much happened to those original 5 X-Men. And going in and seeing what has happened to them. It's like, seeing if yourself from 20 years ago came to the future and saw what became of you. You're like,
what was do you remember what the name of that X-Men title was when they had Untold Tales of Spider-Man? Then they had like, what was it? X-Men? It was like a 99 cent
Yes,
comic.
I know which one it is. Yes, I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
I don't remember the name.
I think it was First Class. X-Men First Class.
Was it?
Yeah, it was X-Men First Class. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
But yeah, those were some good stories.
The untold stories. Yep.
Fit in between like the original issues and everything.
And it would tell you what issues would fit in between too.
Yeah. Untold Tales was so good.
Exactly.
Like Spider-Man stuff.
All right. Next character who I feel didn't get a lot of stuff to do. Did some stuff, but didn't have a lot of character growth. Wolverine. And
don't even get me started, my boy. They did him dirty in that last episode.
Oh, what last episode? He was unconscious the last episode.
Exactly.
He was unconscious the whole episode. But okay, some people like myself. Okay, I'm on the opposite end because
I want to see the whole Beast Wolverine come out and stuff like that.
I think season 2 we're gonna get that. Season 2, I think we're gonna get that. With the movies, were all about Wolverine. Okay, and I'm glad to see, and knowing the comics, knowing that yes, Wolverine is the most popular X-Men. I understand that. Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah. This was their way of proving that it wasn't all about Wolverine.
He is far from the most important X-Men. Okay, he is far from the most important.
I don't know about that.
Name an X-Men storyline that centers around Wolverine.
An X-Men storyline?
X-Men storyline that centers around Wolverine.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Exactly. Tell me one. He's always there, but he's never the center of it, is what I'm saying, And that's kind of how he was in the show.
I'm trying to remember, what was that one? I'm trying to remember, what was the...
He gets plenty of adventure, because he has his own solo series. He has plenty of adventures about him. I totally get it, but very few... No, most of the big X-Men storylines usually have to do with Charles, Magneto, or Cyclops and Jean Grey. Those are the 4 that really, like, if something's happening, it's usually happening around those characters.
Right.
Is what it is. So, and that's what this season did, is Wolverine was there, he did his part, but it wasn't really centered around him.
Sheer popularity, what X-Men has retained their own title.
Exactly. I agree. I just said he is the most popular X-Men. I get that. I totally get that. I understand that. I mean, the current Wolverine series, I think it's pretty good too. Have you read that one, the Sabretooth War?
No, not recently.
So basically, the storyline between that is basically Sabretooth has taken all these Sabretooths from other realities to like take out Wolverine and X-23 and all of them.
Okay.
Take out Wolverine and his family, pretty much.
All right.
So it's pretty wild.
I think they got a Hellverine comic coming out. It's like Ghost Rider and Wolverine mixed together or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but Wolverine in this season, like I said, he was there. He did some cool stuff. He kissed Jean Grey. He sliced some people up. He got his adamantium taken out, which we were waiting for.
He did some of those meme poses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did the awesome. I got 6 reasons for you right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, he had his cool, badass moments, which is what we want to see from Wolverine. And I'm fine with. I know they're gonna have more for him to do coming forward. And honestly, too, I was listening to some show or whatever. Like, I wouldn't mind even too. Like, given in the comic books, after he gets his adamantium ripped out and the journey he has to go through the next couple of years in the comics before he gets it all back and kind of puts himself back together again. Let's do a spin-off animated series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's do a spin-off animated series about Wolverine trying to recover from the most horrific event of his life and how he's trying to hold it together and eventually find himself again.
And that does raise another question too: is will there be a live-action Wolverine movie after the X-Men come out?
I mean, they're going to do a Wolverine live-action movie. Again, people are even asking too:
who do you think should play Wolverine?
Well, of course, Harry Potter. Duh.
Oh, no, that's your choice.
No. I mean, of course, there's everyone been rumored for that. I don't really care, honestly. You know what? They pick somebody that's a good actor.
Wouldn't that be such a slap in the face? It was Henry Cavill
to
DC.
Yeah. Well,
hey,
I don't know.
We're most popular.
I don't know.
To that one.
Look, I don't know. X-Men casting. Same thing for any casting. Give me a good actor. Give me a good actor, and that'll be fine.
I think it should be an unknown. I mean, the only qualm I ever had with Hugh Jackman was he was too tall.
Too tall, of course. That's yeah, exactly.
Too tall and should have been wearing the mask.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Wolverine. Let's move on. Let's go to Storm. Now, Storm there are a lot of Storm fans out there, and
I didn't really have too much of a problem with that episode, other than, again, it detoured.
It was weird. I mean, I never read the original story, Life, Death storyline, to be honest. But the way she got her powers back, I'm like, whatever. You know, I mean, I'm glad she got her powers back.
That probably could have been done like one half episode or something.
Well, the thing is weird. I don't know. I guess I don't understand too why they split it in two like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they just didn't make it one episode.
They didn't want to bore you with one whole episode.
I don't know. But yeah, the way she got her powers back, I'm like, man.
Even the YouTube people have talked about that episode. They're all like, yeah, there's this whole weird storyline with this demon and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Which, yeah, it's fine. The demon, what's his name? Oh, I can see it. I can see the character in the comics.
It almost looks like Sauron.
Yeah, he's like a monster. He's like a dream monster almost. What is his name? Shadow King, I think. That may be his name.
Oh, not in that episode. Not in this.
What was his name?
You're talking about the original.
Gosh, what was his name? And I can't. I'm gonna remember it. But anyway, yeah. I mean, the way it happened. I don't know the original comic. If it happened like that in the comic, I don't know. I'd be more interested. Like they briefly. The important thing for me in that whole story was the fact that Forge said, "Hey, I'm the one that built the weapon that took you out." Yeah. That character mode where. They rushed through it a little bit. I would much rather see them dwell on that a little bit as opposed to immediately bringing the villain in, and the problem is the villain.
Yeah.
I'd rather them see about the problem is between these two characters about how she feels about she's starting to feel something for Forge, and then she finds out something terrible about him, and that should be the core of it. Not this villain comes in and we have to fight him.
Yeah.
For that.
That's what they're trying to prove a little bit was it's just a shadow or something.
I mean, there were a lot of people that were very happy with, when Storm was treated like that first episode where Cyclops was like, show them the forecast. And she comes in.
How Storm got her back.
And she does, yeah, exactly. How she does the lightning on the sand and the sand crystallizes, like it, she does.
As long as she doesn't have that tagline, what happens to a frog in a lightning storm or whatever she said.
Fun fact, okay? I was over watching JR's kid, who's 2.5 or whatever, and he likes the new Spidey and Amazing Friends show with the kiddie version or whatever. Yeah. So Nora used to like Superhero Squad, kind of the same thing or whatever. So I put that on for him and put on a couple episodes for him or whatever. He wasn't paying attention, but I still left it on. They did a Toad reference because Toad was in an episode, and he's like, well, that's what happens to a Toad or something like that.
Yeah, I was a toad. I said a frog.
Yeah. But anyway, short story there. So, but yes, I mean, people were of course still upset because again, there's a lot of big Storm fans out there that after she came back, after she got her powers back, they were upset that she didn't do more in the last couple episodes too.
Yeah, and then another thing too is that they're kind of introducing Storm with a relationship where she hasn't really gone. She didn't really have that too much in the other cartoon, did she?
No, she didn't. I mean,
Like,
I don't think she ever had a relationship. The only relationship I think she had in the original series was the two-parter where she got involved with like this like Hercules kind of guy, maybe, or something. It was up, I don't know.
Because that's kind of a big thing too about Storm in the comics. They've always tried to make her a very prominent woman because I mean she was revered as a goddess back in her home country. So it's like. She was with Ford. She was with Black Panther. She was
a Bishop.
She's
been with Bishop.
I mean, not the stereotype of black characters.
Did you ever see that comic where her and Wolverine hooked up in the shower?
Oh yeah.
The one where like Wolverine
was that Age of Apocalypse? Weren't they together in Age of Apocalypse?
No, it wasn't Age of Apocalypse. It was a different one when they were together. In Age of Apocalypse, Jean and Wolverine were together. Okay. But there is another alternate reality where they were together. I mean, they did it in the One Man's Worth animated two-parter where they were together
were they together in Ultimate X-Men maybe too?
They might have been, yeah. I think at one point they were too. Yeah, it's one of those.
I just remember Ultimate X-Men. That was the one where Wolverine got Jean Grey and everything.
Yeah, Ultimate X-Men where he hooked up with Jean Grey.
She's like a teenager and he's like hundreds of years old or whatever.
Yeah, the first storyline is Wolverine comes in as a spy for Magneto. He hooks up with Jean Grey, pisses Cyclops off. Cyclops goes to Magneto, right? Yeah. And then he finds out what Magneto's doing. He's like, oh no, I'm not down with that or whatever. And then Jean finds out that Wolverine was a spy and like kicks his ass or whatever.
That Ultimate Magneto, though, he was a badass. Oh, he wiped everything out at the end.
Oh yeah. He had the president on the lawn of the White House in his like underwear.
Yeah.
Is what it was. So, but okay, I have a Storm. Back to Storm. Yeah. Fine. I think she's fine. Again, to me, this whole season revolved around these next couple of characters we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Rogue and in turn Gambit. With that, the whole episode 5 about how she wants to do her duty to mutant kind and be with Magneto to do her part, but she knows her heart belongs to Gambit. And
that is one thing they didn't really resolve was what was going on with her and Magneto. I mean, other than like they've had a past relationship, but they didn't really say like what they were doing, like the time of like, oh, we're training in the danger room. It's like,
oh, like during the episodes.
Was it you or someone that told me that that was kind of a subversion to just a diversion to show that she's trying to own her powers with Magneto so that she can be with Gambit? Isn't that what?
I don't know. I didn't say anything. I wasn't me. I said that too.
Somebody talked to me about that.
Possibly, but
because I don't think she would blatantly just throw it in his face like that.
No, I don't think she would either. Which is why she didn't tell anybody about it. She kind of snuck around a little bit about it. It was just a big thing for her about being able to touch someone for the first time in her life, skin to skin contact. Which people have pointed out. Why not just put on a collar? When you want to do it.
Well, yeah.
But it's kind of repressing who you are.
It's unnatural.
It's unnatural, and you're ashamed of who you are, so you put on the collar and blah blah blah. I get it.
Plus, what that sucker shorts out in the middle of it, man.
Yeah,
you're dead, dude.
But yeah, exactly.
Or at least your bottom part is.
Yeah. Imagine being in the middle of it.
What way to go?
You're in the middle of it when the collar goes out. Wow. Yeah.
This sounds like a Kevin Smith conversation here.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yes. But Rogue's journey this season was really great. She had to deal with her past with Magneto, her current feelings for Gambit, and having to deal with the loss of them both. I mean, she technically was going to kill not Gyrick, but the other guy, Trask.
Yeah.
He turned into a Sentinel, but still, she was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And Morph's like, is that who we are now?
I mean, she started out as a villain, so
yeah, exactly.
You knew there was going to be that curve of coming back,
and she was in the middle of grief, and I love that scene in that episode too, where her adopted brother Nightcrawler comes to her, and he lets her feel everything, and she starts crying in his arms, and it was just dealing with her grief is what it was.
Yep.
And of course, the best part was the Captain America scene where he's like, I can't do anything. My hands are tied. She's like, well, your hands are tied. You're not going to be needing this, and throws the shield like hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
It was great.
I think those were scrolls.
Yeah, but the way I mean, they didn't do anything. So
I know that's what I'm saying.
I never thought of that. Possibly, if they were so apathetic when these Sentinels were attacking, maybe they were scrolls.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. But Steve did have that little bit of like, when the president issued the Magneto protocols, they had the shot of Steve like not wanting to do it. So they did have that regret.
This ain't my show.
Right? That's exactly what it was. It's not my show. It's not my problem. Well, the world was, under.
Just here for an appearance.
I mean, I'm sorry. Asteroid M was falling from the sky, and like no Avengers or other superheroes were like trying to help him out or anything like that.
Quick, Captain, what are you gonna do? He raises up his shield.
Right? Exactly. I'll cover you. But I mean, come on. Tony Stark easily could have gone up there, like tried to help him or something.
I think that's always kind of been a big difference between Captain America and Batman. Batman's always, proactive. He's always, trying to get things done beforehand. Captain America's more reactive. He action's going on already and stuff like that. He doesn't plan for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of like when, going back to Winter Soldier, where Nick Fury's showing him the guns or whatever on the helicarriers, and he's like, I thought the punishment came after the crime. Yeah, so there's that. But yeah, Rogue Story was great, of course. Going with Gambit kind of goes hand in hand. Of course, we're going to see Gambit next year as they teased it up. For those of you who don't know, they had that little tease with present day Apocalypse. He had the Queen of Hearts in his hand. And for those of you who don't know, in the comic books, Gambit at one point becomes a horseman of Apocalypse, one of the 4 horsemen. So I imagine they're going to bring him back as a horseman, and they're going to have to, have Rogue or whoever kind of walk him off the ledge and kind of remember who he is a little bit.
Not to backtrack a little bit, but Wolverine, does he still got that power where his claws heat up?
No. When did his claws heat up?
Yeah, that happened a couple of years ago. That was supposed to be one of his new powers he had.
Fuck new powers.
Yeah.
He's got he's got claws and he's got a healing factor.
I know, that's what I was saying. It was
his
like,
cup
what?
runneth over, okay?
But yeah, it's just like that's kind of brought me back to what Gambit. There's like a move where him and Wolverine team up and he charges his claws or something like that.
Well, they did that in the show, yes.
Yeah, it was in the show.
That was episode 1.
Okay.
Episode 1.
I watched episode 1 once, man.
Gambit. It was it. That was like when they were doing the trailer, and that was the thing people were freaking out. Where Gambit hopped on his back, charged his claws.
Like, there were so many cool moments.
Yeah, and then Morph turned into Blob. And Wolverine bounced off a blob and took those charged claws and went right through Master Mold's neck.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
So why didn't his claws explode?
I said that too. I said that in the trailer. Like, he's charging his claws. Maybe it was the amount of charge he gave him, because there are other times.
Discharge?
Well, because, just as an example, there was a time when in the animated series, Days of Future Past, he's trying to get away from Wolverine and Bishop, and he charges up a card and throws it at him, and they duck like it's gonna like explode, but then it doesn't. So like maybe it's the amount of charge he gives to it.
Yeah.
So just enough.
A controlled charge. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And how indestructible is adamantium? Like, if someone makes it explode, will it actually explode, or will it just be like? Nope.
I feel like the only way it can explode is if it's like liquid form or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The heat. They said the only way to do it is the raw material.
I guess it goes back to his power. Does his power heat up stuff, or it just charges it?
I don't know.
No.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because for a minute, I know everybody thought he was a Summers brother.
Yeah, there was that. There was that. Mm-hmm. All right, Magneto and Xavier, the center point of the X-Men.
The bread and butter.
A lot of people were like, "Hey, Magneto's right. Magneto's right." At any point, did you think Magneto was right?
I think Magneto's indecisive. He went from like bad guy to good guy to bad guy to good guy.
Well, we all have our breaking points. We all have those bad days, and then we have our good days.
Or you turn the earth upside down.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And that was the other thing I loved about the end there too. Was like, you're trying to stop Magneto. You need Magneto to turn everything back on. But you can't have him turn everything back on before they stop Bastion, Yeah. So, like, when Cyclops, blasted Xavier, it's like, no, they need more time,
Yeah. I mean, I think, not going back to what we said, but Ultimate X-Men, the Ultimate Magneto there and everything, that was a character that, should have been put down. I mean, not to sound so cold, but that would have prevented everything, because here's this like damaged character with such like godlike powers, going to the boys, giving characters like that.
Speaking of, there was House of M when they talked about putting Scarlet Witch down, with that too. But sticking on that kind of mentality, and that leads us to that last scene where Cyclops is like, stand down, we're not going to fight Bastion anymore. We're going to try to reason with him. We're going to do Charles' thing. No more fighting. Yeah. Is what it was. And there's so many people on the internet, they're like, that was stupid. That was stupid. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, that's exactly what Xavier wants. That's his whole dream.
That's where you bring in Wolverine's X-Force and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You want Bastion taken out, you bring in X-Force, the secret assault team, and you take him out,
pretty much.
Exactly, it's what you do. But there was that. But yeah, I mean, Magneto worked with some trauma. He had a lot of stuff to do. My favorite line, of course, of his with the season was when they put him in charge. They were going to put him in charge of Genosha, and Val Cooper was protesting it, and she said most countries don't make terrorists their leader, and then he said but yet allow their leaders to act like terrorists. Oh yeah, that was a really good line.
I think that was a shot at reality right there.
Yeah, it was definitely a shot at reality, and that's the other thing. The writing was so good. You had so many shots at what was going on in the world right now.
Right.
With all this, I mean, some of the stuff you could easily point a finger to current day issues in the world, and that's kind of a nice thing. Always the thing about X-Men is, when you're dealing with the metaphors for, like I said, intolerance and hatred and being different, you could always make those present day similes, no matter what date, whether it's 2024 or 1964.
Oh yeah,
because we're human, and we're always going to have that.
It's a common struggle.
Exactly, it's always a human struggle. So again, why the X-Men connect, I think, so well to a lot of us, because in any age, you're gonna see part of the world in the X-Men is what it is. Is what I feel about that. So
I mean, it's the everyday going to Spider-Man, but the everyday man.
Exactly, the everyday man. All right, let's dive into it. Cyclops and Jean Grey and their son. I'm a big Cyclops fan, so I was super excited, especially by episode 1. I was like, oh yeah, he comes in, he like is sliding all over, fighting the humans or whatever, busting ass, and then they go to fight the Sentinels, and everybody's falling, everybody's getting caught, and he's like, good job guys, I'm gonna land myself, and he like blasts the ground and lands softly.
That's the one character I think they kind of really grew from the previous series with Cyclops. He really kind of took the front and center of
I mean, he was definitely, and that's the thing too, is like they took this character who had definitely been sidelined in the movies, and they did him justice. Is really in my eyes what they did.
Because the average person that didn't know who Cyclops was or anything, they kind of think, oh, it's to do with glasses.
The average people that don't know how badass he is. He is so badass.
Well, just because he knows more, he knows fighting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, there's an issue of X-Men where him and the White Queen go on a vacation to the Savage Land, and like they're looking at like some Triceratopses or whatever, and White Queen goes into Scott's mind, and Scott is looking at the Triceratopses as a tactical way of like, okay, how would I defeat them? Like he's looking at everything from
he's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy who took over Astonishing X-Men after Joss Whedon actually said Cyclops is Marvel's Batman, because he's always thinking tactically, which I think Captain America does too. In that sense.
I mean, that's what we saw in Marvel vs. DC. But
yeah, exactly. But I think he's always thinking that way. But yeah, and he's just... And that's what I've loved, too, about Cyclops in the comics is he's always underestimated. Like, he goes up against Norman Osborn, and he talks like... He tells Norman Osborn basically to fuck off, and Norman Osborn's like, who's this little punk? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then he takes out Norman Osborn, okay? He goes toe-to-toe with Dracula. He's like... and called Dracula's bluff,
Has Cyclops ever met the Punisher?
I don't think so.
That'd be an interesting.
That'd be an interesting one. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. But yeah, I like that he's constantly underestimated. Even when it comes to like Avengers versus X-Men, he was always underestimated. Everything that happened after that, love it. Just my favorite X-Men, my favorite, I think, Marvel character just in general is Cyclops.
I know. I've got your toy that prove it from kids.
And he went through some shit. It's like we were talking about this too. Okay, so all right, so your wife who's pregnant with your kid turns out isn't your actual wife. But you don't know which one is where they switched out. Like, did you marry the clone or did you marry your Jean Grey? And like you said, in episode 5, all he knew was that Madeline definitely was the mother of his child. So at least for 9 months, that was Madeline. As far as
my first thought would have been threesome.
Right, exactly. And I love in the comics too. With one thing I love they did was with Madeline and say Jean Grey, you always knew where Madeline started because in the comics, Scott met Madeline as a separate person after Jean Grey allegedly died.
That storyline was a little weirder than what happened in the cartoon, I think.
Yeah, so in the original comics, just to try to go through this real quickly, Dark Phoenix happens, Jean Grey kills herself, Cyclops leaves the X-Men, he meets Madeline Pryor, who looks an awful lot like Jean Grey, he gets married, he has a kid, Nathan, with her, and he's struggling between, continuing to be on the X-Men or being with his family, going back and forth, something that pisses Madeline off. Jean Grey is turned out to be alive. Cyclops goes back to the X-Men. Madeline gets pissed, becomes the Goblin Queen, and gets involved with Sinister. And she comes to find out, basically, she's a clone of Jean Grey. She goes crazy. I guess
my question is, was that their intention, the writer's intention the whole time, was to have her clone, or was that something they just kind of wrote in, like, oh, she's
I don't know. I mean, you got to think the fact, because in her very first introduction, like in her first panel, Scott said she looks like Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So you got to think they probably at least planned it for a while. It went on for a couple of years. Even after Jean came back, Madeline actually ended up having a relationship with Havoc, Cyclops' brother, because Havoc kind of like comforted her when Scott went back to Jean, and so his brother like hooked up with his wife or ex-wife or whatever it was for that. So there's that whole storyline.
What I kind of like in the comics is that last year or so, Madeline Pryor has kind of mixed it up with Ben Reilly.
Oh yeah, she has. When
like two clones,
like in the X-Men too, her and Havoc are not back together, but they formed the Dark X-Men as well too, because she's still, her main power now is the fact that she's the Goblin Queen and still has the whole demonic powers pretty much. So that's kind of her bread and butter right now in the comics as far as her connection to the demonic world. But yeah, one thing I liked about it is in the comics you had that clear definition between Madeline and Jean Grey. With this, because they're powerful psychics, telepaths, as soon as Jean Grey came back, their minds almost kind of melded together to where neither one of them knows whose memories are whose.
Right.
Even Jean Grey felt like she has all the memories or all the feelings of being pregnant.
Yeah.
And all that. So
I mean, not to parallel Spider-Man again, but that's the whole clone saga, that original clone saga. It's like Ben Reilly coming back, hey, I'm really him. I have all these memories, and so does he.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, with that though, they knew Riley walked away, and he knew at that point there was a separation between the two of them.
Yeah, they thought there was.
They had,
but there could have easily been a swap.
Yeah, I'm just saying they had separate memories after that.
Yeah, they had different experiences shaping.
Whereas up until when Jean Grey woke up in episode 3, everything twisted together, and until Madeline walks out of that school and says goodbye to Jean Grey, they had the exact same memories.
No, Jean Grey didn't, because Madeline has lived that life and she hasn't.
Huh?
Well, she knows. Lived the last 9 months. And
yes,
Jean Grey has not.
That's true. That's true. But
Jean Grey still shape her
Jean Grey, but Jean Grey has those memories because being a telepath, like I said, she felt the being pregnant. She felt all that.
Did she read her mind or whatever?
And like I said, it was just kind of all twisted together. Okay. It all got twisted together when she was talking to her in episode 3.
Madeline would be a somewhat different person because Jean Grey wasn't pregnant and had the kid. And stuff like that. So.
And that kind of became an issue, of course, between the whole thing. It was in episode 9
I'm not a woman, but I think pregnancy changes a woman.
A little bit, just a little bit, right? Episode 9, of course, Sinister's teasing Jean to be like, I know when I separated you. Do you want to know when you became Jean or when Madeline started? And he's kind of teasing her a little bit, and Jean just kind of had to say, I don't care. Yeah. See, I moved on with it. I've gotten past it. I don't care.
Right.
With that.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of short and sweet because also around, I guess that was like around the time of the Clone Saga for Spider-Man or right before it.
When, like...
The whole Madeline Jean Grey switcheroo.
I mean... That
was like mid-90s.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking... Yes, but the actual in the comic took place like 80s or whatever, I think is what it was. So, but yeah, I mean, that the way they handled that was all good. Of course, I felt, though, in that last episode, it was a little bit of a cop-out when, like, everything seemed dire, Bastion was going to win, and like, oh, we'll just make Jean be the Phoenix again and solve everything. I mean, she didn't solve everything, but she solved the situation, at least,
Right. I mean, it was the whole... I mean, she did that in that Grant Morrison run we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah, she's done that.
Where she's like... She's made the Phoenix appear, but it's not like the Phoenix.
Yeah, the Phoenix has not...
a little bit that's left.
Yeah, she isn't possessed by the Phoenix, but she can still tap into that Phoenix power.
Yeah, she's still got that little bit of fire in her.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, yes. But I felt like it was a little cop-out. We're like, oh, we wrote ourselves into a corner. How are they going to get out of this? I know, we'll bring in the Phoenix just for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just...
Again, I watch all that YouTube reviewers, and that's what they said too. That's a kind of a cop-out.
It is, yeah. I think it kind of was. But
it was a kind of a short-lived moment too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. It was very short-lived, and that's what I'm saying. It didn't solve everything. It just solved that current problem, which I'm glad for that. I'm glad they didn't do it to solve the whole problem of Bastion and Magneto and all that. Just the moment, the problem of the moment. Excuse me, keep burping. Was really good for that. But like I said, I think the whole season, the whole crux of this season was Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nathan / Cable. I mean, that was the focus, especially again. They got that movie come out another month or so that's going to be definitely Wolverine-centric. So they don't want everything to be Wolverine. Going back to what you were saying, you don't want the X-Men to be all about Wolverine. Well, no. X-Men is not all about Wolverine, is what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. That's why they didn't really focus on this because we're going to have plenty of Wolverine here in another month. Well, it's just like, and they do this in every comic. We're like, when the Spider-Man movie took off, Spider-Man was everywhere in the comics. When the Deadpool movie took off, Deadpool was everywhere in the comics. When the X-Men movie took off, Wolverine was everywhere in the comics. I mean, art mimics the movies now. Yeah, so exactly. Like they take it. I mean, especially like when the first X-Men movie came out, suddenly the X-Men outfits all changed to like black. Yeah, black leather. They even made that joke too, I think. They made the joke in the animated series too. Like, what do you expect? Black leather? Yep. Which was a great callback. No, yellow spandex. Okay, right, exactly. I'm sure I'm missing something as far as Jean and Scott because I could go on forever about it. But let's talk about the ending and look at season 2. So, first off, who do you think brought them to who took that meteor or took the characters and put them out of the present? I don't know. I mean, I think that was borrowed a little bit from a storyline, wasn't it? So I'll just... I think they got spread out at some point in the comics. I'm not sure of the specific one. I know, so as far as like just focusing on Scott and Jean, in the comics, what happened was on their honeymoon, after they got married, Mother Ascani took them from their honeymoon in the present and brought them to the future to help raise Nathan. And they were in the future for several years, raising Nathan, fighting Apocalypse, until eventually they were brought back to basically the moment they left, is what it was with that. So my first thought is maybe it's Mother Ascani, because Mother Ascani is technically Rachel Summers, their future child. Rachel Summers has the ability... I don't know if she's ever proven, but she's more powerful than Jean Grey. Wait, so that older lady in the future is their daughter? Is Rachel Summers. Okay, through the natural progression of time, not like Cable, who was... No, exactly. From the past. Exactly. Yeah, through the natural progression. I mean, I'm not sure specifics about that. And then, of course, in the comics, a younger version of her does go back to the present, who we have had in the comics for years. But that older woman is Rachel Summers, Mother Ascani, Scott and Jean's child, who is an older woman who is so powerful, she's able to take her parents from the present and bring them to the future and then bring them back again, is what it is. So my first thought would be maybe she might be the one to do that, or it might be a whole Apocalypse being able to time travel himself, playing with it a little bit as well. Apocalypse can time travel? He can time travel, yeah.
I didn't know
He
that.
does not early on. Like as he grows later, he can time travel, but not early Apocalypse.
Yeah, I think they got too much time travel going on.
Oh, they do.
everywhere.
X-Men has always been about time
I
travel.
hope this Deadpool
Oh my God.
movie ends things.
There is so much. No, there's so much time travel in X-Men. There is so much time travel in X-Men.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the first like real teams that kind of.
I could tell you at least 4 or 5 X-Men storylines throughout the years that were time travel based.
They're known for their
alternate realities. Exactly. Yes, exactly. So yes, it's time travel. So Apocalypse, Mother Ascani could be maybe who's behind it. I loved when you saw they're gonna do kind of their version of the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, which is what I just talked about. How they're kind of raising Nathan in the future a little bit, basically getting back the time they didn't get.
Right.
You know, where he had to give away the kid, and then next time they see him, he's older than they are. It's like I didn't have chances to see him or raise him or be with them. You know, they're going to get that time back.
Where did that leave the present day Cable? Because he wasn't like he wasn't up there. Was
No. So Cable was down there. Remember, he got his arm taken off. Forge was looking after him, and then we have Jubilee and Sunspot and Forge were there too.
So they were just all on the ground.
Yeah, they're all on the ground. So and when you look at the end when Bishop comes in. When Bishop comes in, of course, Bishop comes in after everything's...
So you think Cable knows what just happened?
Well, because, okay, so on the board of the X-Men, Cable says AWOL, Jubilee says AWOL, Sunspot says AWOL.
Okay. I forgot they had
So,
that,
like,
yeah.
you have, like, missing, presumed dead, which is all the people who got scattered through time. And then you have the ones that we know about were, like, you know, you had Iceman, Colossus, Havoc, which were just pictures on there. And then you had... Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were off-world, is what it said. And then you had Cable, Jubilee, and Sunspot were AWOL.
Holy cow, you remember that whole thing.
I went back and I paused it. Like several times. You had to get it right.
That crazy that little
The hardest was trying to see Jubilee and Sunspot because they were up in the corner and you really didn't get a good shot of it. But if you look, it looks like it says AWOL like it does with Cable. So
what do you think about that little cameo by Polaris?
Yes.
Polaris, or however.
Yes, they had her little cameo. Well, she had 2 cameos technically. She had the Dreams cameo in Magneto. Then she had the Future cameo when Cable's telling his story, and you see Polaris working with the Sentinels.
Yeah.
Same thing as the redhead was Rachel Summers.
Yeah.
With that, so you had those scenarios as well with that part too. But yeah, so okay. So then the other part are lost in back Egypt, right? With a young,
youngish.
Yes, and in Sabanur.
How old do you think he is? Like 200?
I don't know. He's just in Egypt. He's just getting started, and I think with that, they're definitely might play with a little bit of you know, if you could kill Hitler as a child, would you? Kind of thing. We're like, hey, do we take out this guy we know is going to be evil, or maybe we try to change him so he's not evil in the present?
Right. That's a whole. Would you kill baby Hitler?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I just said. Yeah. So like, and knowing Charles will probably be like, we can reform him so he'll be better in the future, in the present, or something like that too. And it's different because you do have them with the Apocalypse in the past. You have the future with Jean and Scott, where again, the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix is them fighting Apocalypse with Child Nathan in the future, and then of course you teased Apocalypse in the present, looking like he's going to build up some horsemen.
Yeah.
But we know just from this season alone, they mix so many different storylines. I feel like
it probably is going to be a mixture of past, present, future Apocalypse going on.
I think it is, but I'm just curious, like. This season had so many different X-Men storylines mixed into it. I feel like, is this just going to be just Apocalypse next season, or is Apocalypse going to be one of like several things we're going to get next season? You know?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're talking Onslaught. That's going to happen eventually in the cartoon.
It could, but
it's gonna.
I think it's definitely a possibility. I think it's definitely because I mean
that's definitely a character they'll be saving for live action. They growing up, that was one of the number one X-Men villains.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Onslaught's in X-Men comics still right now. Actually,
yeah, he just came back recently.
Yeah, he came back recently. He's with like alternate versions of Wolverine and stuff.
He's like a Magneto on steroids.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they did the shot. They did the famous shot where Magneto's zapping, or Xavier's zapping Magneto.
Yeah, it was almost the exact.
But again, he didn't.
Comic panel, yeah.
he didn't turn his brain off though. He went in with him and like fixed it.
That was kind of the different part a little bit.
That was the different part a little bit, but it still was kind of. I could see where they could.
He mind wiped him, is what it seemed like.
I could see where they could still go with Apocalypse.
Yeah,
I get it, because he still basically broke him down and then had to build him back up.
Yeah.
Is what it was. So I could still see the onslaught happening. I would love that, but it's like I said. For my thing is like
something that you would want to get the Avengers and everyone else involved in, because it did in the comics.
Yeah. And okay, so let's go. Let's jump over to cameos. All right.
Okay.
A lot of cameos. A lot of the cameos this season came from Morph changing into people, right? And that's where a majority of the cameos came.
Yeah.
Our first actual cameo was that episode 7 with Captain America and Thunderbolt Ross, which when we were talking about Rogue, I totally forgot to mention, like, Rogue kicks some ass and, like, just showed how powerful she is in not only that episode, but the season,
She's pretty much Captain Marvel.
She is pretty much Captain Marvel, exactly. So, totally badass, like, rips apart, like, the Hulkbuster base and goes after Ross,
Yeah.
He's like, this, don't worry, this place could take on the Hulk. And here's Rogue just ripping right through it,
Yeah.
There's that. So, but first cameo was really Captain America. Then we got, people freaked out in episode 8 or 9. Was it 8 when he turned the power off? I think it was 8 when he turned the power off. And you got the Spider-Man shot that people freaked out about.
Yeah.
And then people, I think, freaked out. Do you think people freaked out more? Or were you as a Spider-Man fan more excited for the Spider-Man shot or the Peter Parker and Mary Jane shot?
I mean, either or. I mean, you thought there was going to be more Spider-Man after that first shot. And it was kind of let down.
So
window shopping.
So let's go with this as well. You saw specifically Peter Parker and Mary Jane versions from the 90s animated series, okay?
Well, the big thing about that, too, was the animated series of Spider-Man ended with that cliffhanger.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going with it. People were like, oh, they found each other again.
Yeah, I mean, this is that kind of conclusion that, hey, she's safe and she's back with them.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was going on to, was like, do you think they want to remake that like they're remaking X-Men 97?
I feel like as a Spider-Man fan, someone that's, true to the heart, been with it for decades, it's just like X-Men, I feel like, they're spread out. It's a lot of spread out stuff. There's so many different Spider characters and Spider-Man related things going on. It's just like, for me, as a solo character, it just makes it feel a little less special, especially like, in the comics, there's, Miles Morales, there's Spider-Gwen, there's, Ben Reilly sometimes, just like all these different people, spider powers and Spider-Verse and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, they have the new Spider-Man animated series, the freshman year or whatever, they're going to come out with. I know.
That's the next cartoon.
I totally understand that. I wouldn't want 2 Spider-Man animated series going on again. At
this point, you can't really treat the audience as dummies, especially with all the multiverses that have been going on. So it's like they're already aware that things are, in different universes.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I hate too, where it's like, if something comes out, like if a movie comes out and then an animated series comes out, somehow the creators have to explain how the two are connected. Oh, this is just a different multiverse, or this is Earth 99 and this is Earth 66. And I'm like, they're just 2 different things.
Yeah.
You don't have to say they're connected. They're just 2 different things, okay?
Right. I mean, that's eventually what's going to happen. It's just going to be oversaturated again with, like, everybody doing alternate realities that people are going to do more solo-focused things.
With DC, James Gunn has already said, like, look, we're going to have the DCU, which is the shared universe, and then we're going to have Elseworlds, which do not connect, which is smart to say. Be like, hey, we're going to have a shared universe and solo stories. We're going to have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Kind of what it is.
And it's just like the other day, they said, oh, Henry Cavill could appear at some point. And
and it's one of those things where, like, think about the Marvel universe, like Marvel as, like, you have the MCU.
Didn't DC did the multiverse thing way before Marvel, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, multiverse has always been DC's thing.
Yeah, because
the
Flash
Crisis.
Flash was
the
like
Crisis.
The first,
yep.
The first, well, I mean, the original Flash, the Barry Allen thing, he crossed.
He was able, yeah, exactly, yeah, Jay Garrett. Yeah,
Jay Garrett,
that was the first thing. Yeah, they were all about all the crises and all that stuff too. But yeah, just think if you get the MCU, but then also standalone. Like, think if you get another like Captain America movie. It's not Chris Evans. It's not connected to the MCU in any way. It's just a standalone Captain America movie. totally different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the next phases of film or whatever after this whole multiverse thing's probably gonna. I mean, they debated back and forth that new Spider-Man. Is it going to be connected or is it going to be street level?
Yeah, exactly.
This or that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel X-Men 97. X-Men 97. I don't think it's going to connect to the MCU. I think it's just something that is there to get people reintroduced to the X-Men, excited once again for the X-Men because the X-Men are coming and they're about to be front and center in the MCU.
It's like I kind of want that to happen, but I kind of don't, because like I said, I see it just plain as day. I mean, like the 3 characters they've introduced live action have been like straight out of like X-Men cartoons or whatever.
Yeah, I understand that.
Especially Professor X and his hovering chair.
They had Professor X, they had Beast, and I love too with Ms. Marvel too. You know, they in the Ms. Marvel show they said you're a mutant, right? And here's what they did in the comics, because you know Ms. Marvel was originally an Inhuman, right? So what they did was they killed Ms. Marvel in the comics and then brought her back as a mutant. And their explanation was that before her mutant gene activated, because she was still a teenager, before it activated, she got infected with the Terrigen Mist. So she was always a mutant, but she just became an Inhuman first.
Like Miss Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, she became an Inhuman before her mutant gene activated, I guess is what they're saying. And they're like, no, you're really a mutant. You're really a mutant, is basically what it came down to. And that's a way for them to be like, Inhuman stench, go away.
I know, it's like ever since they did that live action Inhuman.
Oh, God. Like there's such a... Yeah, exactly. As soon as that like exploded, like they totally... And it's funny, too, because one thing as regard to X-Men is like, okay, the X-Men have fought... Anytime they're trying to make, like, the characters come back, like, they had... When Avengers was just popping off, they had Avengers versus X-Men. When they were trying to do the Inhumans animated Inhumans live action, they had Inhumans versus X-Men. Mm-hmm. When Eternals were popping up a couple of years ago, they had Eternals versus X-Men. So the X-Men have fought all the other teams.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing that'd be a mind-blowing thing is what if they put the Captain Marvel from live action in the X-Men 97 cartoon? Wouldn't that be crazy? Because that would make it fully connected.
Well, I want to see Captain Marvel come back and like get her dues on Rogue, you know?
Yeah.
In the animated series, because they did
we're talking two different Captain Marvels, by the way.
Yeah, I get you, and I know what you're saying, but I want to see the Captain Marvel from the animated series. Like we get that flashback episode of Rogue where she's taking Captain Marvel's powers, right? And she puts her in a coma, and I'm like, okay, I want to see that girl wake up and come after Rogue.
Yeah.
Is what I want to see. So
they work it out. They're girls. They always work it out.
Yeah. Oh no, they don't.
Oh, I thought they did.
You haven't seen Mean Girls, have you? All right, guys. Well, I think we're wrapping up here with X-Men 97. I think the general consensus is we really like the show. I mean, it's great. It gets us excited for X-Men. We have some teasers for season 2 of what they're going to be. I'm excited for season 2. You're excited for season 2, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they're going to continue. And like I said, I don't see this lasting 7-8 seasons. I see it. I mean, especially the big question is too the fact that the showrunner got fired like a month or so before the
politics.
Yeah, exactly. Before the show started, he got fired. We know he did basically all of season 1. He did most of season 2. They're wrapping that up right now, I guess. But then they want to do season 3, which is kind of a blank slate. Yeah. So people are like, okay, this guy did season 1. We love season 1. We know he did a lot of season 2, so we have faith in season 2. Season 3, he's not going to be involved with. So, like, what's season 3 going to look like, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, we got to watch season 2 first.
Let's take it season by season.
Exactly. And that's what I hate too. You know, because now it's on that pedestal. Now the show has reached that pedestal. And when a show reaches that pedestal in the first season, people always complain about season 2.
I think that's one of Marvel's biggest flaws is setting that bar so high where it's like, oh, we got something coming out in like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I mean, honestly, yes, post-Endgame, some of the movies and stuff have been disappointing for me. But I think the thing that's been most disappointing is because, again, they've set that bar so high that anything that doesn't come close to it, it seems disappointing.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And I think we're going to have that with this series where people love this season so much. Season 2, no matter what, is going to be a little disappointing for a lot of people. Not saying me.
Oh, you think the bar's that high?
I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with season 2 no matter what no matter if it's good or not.
I don't know. A lot of people think that shows get their voice in the second season.
Well, there's always a sophomore slump too, though. A lot of people, there are a lot of shows that people do not like second seasons of.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We'll wrap it up here. I can talk about this forever, but I won't. So, leave your comments, of course. Fire back. Dayspring discussions on Facebook. You can find me personally. I love it. Slim Dayspring 12. That's right. I have that. I've had that name for years now. It's an X-Men reference, much like the title of this podcast.
Copywritten.
And well, it's funny because I posted on Twitter the other day, and I'm like, I'm so excited that in the next year, people are going to be are going to find out what my Twitter and Instagram handle is all about. Daysprings.
Right.
Yep, because we're about to get into Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix of Slim and Red Dayspring.
Okay.
And all right, you want to give a shout out at all?
Yeah, actually, shout out to my boys back in Indiana. Triple Murray represent.
Hoosiers, that's right, guys. I hope you're listening, of course. And who knows? You know, we might be doing this more often. We'll see.
Yeah,
you know,
I've only been here a few weeks, but I am a Texan now.
Here at Texan, that's right. It's right. His cowboy boots and hat are in the mail.
In the mail.
They're in the mail.
I saw my first official cowboy earlier, too.
Exactly. You'll see it. All right. All right, guys. That is it for us today. Until then, what do I want to say? What's my call out?
Do or do not. There is no try.
No. I'm trying to think of. To me, my X-Men. No, that's not. That's at the beginning. We should have done that at the beginning. Yeah. What's an X-Men sign off? Whatever. Anyway, bye guys.
Snick.